Hello and welcome back, guys. Today I'm going to walk you through the Deathblade build that I'm going to run for Valtan release. I'm going to talk about the gear sets that you're going to use, the card sets and all of that. This is not the super detailed version because I already have another video up. You can see it probably somewhere on the screen, where I talk about everything very much in detail and the rotations and everything. I recommend watching that video first and then coming back to this one. That being said, I'm going to walk you through roughly the build that I'm going to play, the runes, the gear sets and so on. So let's get going. So as you guys may already know, I'm running a little bit more of a more unorthodox setup, usually with Polestar. But as you can see, I already don't have points here anymore, because for Valtan you will need a counter. And Polestar is the perfect ability to swap out for that counter. So you're gonna run Earth Cleaver with Concussion, Weak Point Detection, and Earth Explosion, which well, gives you a lot of stagger, good damage, and then also Earth Explosion is very useful just for more damage, right? Leap Attack is also fine, but since we're also running a decent amount of crit, it's not that necessary, right? But if you have basically 0 crit, Leap Attack could also work, technically. And the rune is going to be Overwhelmed, because that will just make this stagger even more, and that's actually a lot of stagger. It's actually a lot. And for Valtan, you need a counter, so Earth Cleaver is a must-have, because Headhunt is just not really cutting it. And now I'm just going to go through the basic ones very quickly. I'm going to go Spin Cutter with Quick Recharge. This is the setup for that one. Soul Absorber with Swift Fingers, Fist of Darkness, and Half, which is the same as in basically every single build as well. You could run Concussion if you need more stagger here. Keep that in mind, but I think overall Swift Fingers is the preferred choice. Then another movement tool. By the way, Spin Cutter is only movement and, well, amplification of your synergy. Then you have a Dark Axle, which is also just movement. I would recommend Swift Fingers, Tenacity, and High Axle. This gives me the most mobility, and it's just overall a very nice touch, because it just allows you to be a little bit faster around the map, and also allows you to quickly get behind the boss. So if I show you that really quickly, this is just basically the perfect way to reposition yourself. And you can do your, I don't know, Soul Absorbers, your Void Strikes, doesn't really matter. But since we're a back attack class, that's very important, right? Another ability that is used for movement is Death Sentence. If you don't like Death Sentence, you could also run Wind Cut instead of this, but I don't think Wind Cut is good. But I talk about that a little bit more in the other video, but generally speaking, Death Sentence just does more damage, gives you more mobility, and since you have so much cooldown reduction with your Surge and Graving, it doesn't really matter that it's higher cooldown. So I would always run Death Sentence over Wind Cut personally, but there's a lot of people that like Wind Cut more, so you know, you do your thing. Also with a Bleed Rune, every time this freeze field ticks, as you can see up here, maybe a little bit, the bleed gets reapplied. So that's why you run the Bleed Rune on that one. Then we have Maelstrom, 7 points. You will never need to put more points than 7 into this. Orb Control and Dark Order are always mandatory. There's also no other versions of this. The rune here does not really matter. I'm running a Rage one, actually good point. I can unequip this and actually get my legendary one here. But generally speaking, Surge isn't in dire need for attack speed, because that will in some cases lower the amount of stacks that you're gonna get. But we're gonna talk about that in a second on the next ability actually, which is Moonlight Sonic. Now this one is interesting because we're gonna talk about the gear set in just a second. But, well, you know that Blade is a back attack class mainly, and which also means you're probably running Ambush Master. And by the way, the engraving setup is the exact same as in the other video. I'm just going to quickly go through it. Surge, Ambush Master, Adrenaline level 3, next one Grudge level 3, and after that Cursed level 3. If you want to have a little bit more of a speedy build for Surge, you could also opt into Supercharge as your 4th or your 5th. So that's also a viable option. I don't think it's that good because it does not amplify your Surge hit, right? So going back to Moonlight Sonic, I'm playing it with Wealth Rune, but because we're such a back attack heavy class, and we're also gonna get the back attack set, which is called the Death set actually. I'll probably put it somewhere here. There's also, I'm gonna have a full link to all of the sets in the description, by the way, so you can look through those yourself. But since this is not a back attack, we will probably be swapping it out, meaning we will not have a Wealth Rune here anymore. So we will unequip that, and we'll get a Blitz Rush fully maxed out instead, because Blitz Rush is obviously a better option because it does back attack. And you have 2 options here. Well, Vital Point is always the same. Then you go Dark Charge or Charge Enhancement. I prefer Dark Charge because it gives you more stacks if you're close to the boss, which is harder to use, but overall is better for Surge Blade. And then you also have Shadow Rush last. If you have really high crit, a dual blitz is also pretty good. But this is basically the setup for that. I would probably run a Galewind rune here. There's not really a whole lot of other options. Right now I'm running Galewind on Void Strike, but I will probably swap that out and put Galewind on Blitz Rush and then put the Wealth rune on the Void Strike, which we also didn't talk about yet. But Void Strike is amazing, also really important to have, so I would put this here. This is the, now you can see the bottom, this is basically my final setup overall, right? It also generates a lot of stacks, but it also generates a lot of identity meter. So with that, you can actually get a lot of identity meter very quickly, and with the Wealth rune, that just gets amplified. If you want even more, you could even run the Orb Control. Probably will do that when I'm running Wealth on top of it, right? The Swift Fingers is nice though, because the speed of this is not super fast, so even if it's higher attack speed, it doesn't really hurt the stack gain. Okay, so let's talk about the legendary sets first. I personally would prefer running the Whisper set for legendary. I'm not going to actually run any of this because I'm not going to do normal Valtan. But if you do want to have a normal legendary set, I would recommend the Whisper one, just because the crit chance is super good for Surge Blade. Let's talk about the actual Relic set, which we can obviously only get 2 pieces of at the moment until Vicus. Obviously that will change, but for now I will be working on the Death set, or Earth's Entropy or Entropy set, which, as I talked about already, is a back attack heavy set. So with that, you will do increased damage to when you're hitting the back. You have more crit rate when you do that. And just overall, if you're back attack heavy class, and with that build that I just showed, we basically have back attack on every single ability besides one. So it's really, really good to have. And I will get the 2 set here. Now, obviously, if you only have a 2 set, what other sets are you gonna take? Personally, I think I'm just gonna take a double deaths set. I'm gonna take the Solar set, so the one from Argos from before with the crit chance. I think it's called Preordained in our version. And on top of that, I'm gonna just probably go the Chosen set from Abyss Dungeon. Yeah, and the other 2 pieces, you could also run, I don't know, maybe this one, this set right here, the Poem set. I don't really think it's necessary to have 2 different relic sets, because in the long run we will get a full back attack set, which is the full death set. So you don't really have to worry about the last 2 pieces. I'm probably just going to go Chosen. Even if you don't go Chosen, I think it will be fine either way, right? Like, I think just having Argos plus the death is going to be sufficient. But again, if you want to look through these sets yourself, and maybe you want another 2 pieces, I'll link that in the description. And yeah, just quickly, gems, the only one you should really worry about is Surge. I still haven't set up my gems at all, because I'm actually trying to get a level 10 Surge gem, which will increase my damage by the most. But then again, you know, it depends. Gems are not super important as Surge Blade outside of your Surge skill. Obviously, Soul Absorber is amazing, Blitz Rush is amazing, even Death Sentence and Void Strike are amazing as well. So just prioritize your biggest damage abilities, and cooldown reduction is obviously good on all of your 3 movement and utility abilities as well. And the card set is a no-brainer. If you have the Lost Wind Cliff one, I would suggest playing that one, although you also have the option, if you're super incredibly super mega lucky, that if you have a, well, 12 to 18 piece Awakening of Light of Salvation, that one could also work. And that's basically all of it. A quick to the point guide. Hopefully it helped you guys. This is what I'm gonna do. This is what my setup will be. As I said, once we have the back attack set, I will swap out Moonlight Sonic for Blitz Rush, and also once we don't need a counter anymore, I will not play Earth Cleaver, and I will get Polestar back, because I just think it's better. So in that regard, thanks for being here, thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, consider subscribing, always helps out, and you can always change your mind. And if you want to ask me questions live, just come over to Twitch. Thanks for being here, guys. Have a good one. Bye bye.